Whoa!
What?
Episode 9. Holy shit.
Okay. Episode 9, as everyone knows, every season is the biggest episode, typically.
Yep.
And everyone knew that the season was building to Bastard Bowl, which is Ramsay versus Jon. And, did it live up to the hype?
Especially after last week's shit show.
Yeah, which we did not like. You check that review out, but we did not think it was very good, and this redeemed it. So it opens up, and as we saw at the end of last episode, they're under siege, and Daenerys shows up.
Still under siege.
Yeah, they're still under siege, but from the Masters.
Yep.
And Daenerys is understandably upset that the city has pretty much gone to shit. Even though Tyrion did his best to make it great, and just when she shows up, it's bad, obviously.
They got to basically a forfeit meeting where they're forfeiting. We think they're forfeiting.
It's like some sort of negotiation between her and the headmaster.
You see in the background, again, Drogon flying in, like you saw last week.
Yeah.
Flying away. And he comes in, and the guys are like, holy shit. And then they're like, no, we're not surrendering. we're going to tell you what's going on.
Yeah. Drogon is massive.
He looks
great.
Yeah, he lands, and then Daenerys gets on him. He's huge. She flies down on the back. Looked really, really cool.
Yeah.
She goes over to the pyramid of Mereen. The Great Pyramid. The other two dragons break out of captivity. They're all flying around and like burning up the ships from
they burn up some ships. Intimidate them. They burn up some ships. In the meantime, Grey Worm and Tyrion are still with the three headmasters, basically. And they basically say, oh, we're going to kill one of you, and you need to tell, the others are going to tell, that we are dominating now.
Yep.
Of course, the two of the guys say, ooh, not us, take this guy, he's a low-born and all that. And Grey Worm walks up, and he slits the throats of the two guys that are trying to give up the one guy, and then he tells the one guy, go back, tell your people what happened here, tell her that Daenerys owns everything now, so...
Yep, so she's burning up all the ships. Cut to later on. Tyrion's talking, and Theon shows up.
Yeah, Theon and Yara are officially in Mereen.
Standing in front of Tyrion.
That was definitely a twist, for sure.
And they basically lay out their plan. We want to give you these ships, we want the Iron Islands back. Yara is, of course, all into Daenerys being queen.
Yeah, of course, yeah. I mean, she's pretty much a lesbian, and she likes the idea of a woman taking over. As she takes over the Iron Islands, they can work together, basically.
And they're very similar in the fact that their fathers were kings, bad kings, which they all agree upon.
Crazy kings, yeah.
And a usurper, Daenerys says, kills their dad, and then they're kind of left to pick up pieces.
And even Tyrion can relate in a way, because obviously Tywin was not the greatest dad in the world.
Yes.
And so it's an interesting alliance, and it came together in a way that was not only surprising in a good way, but it was really interesting because they brought in the whole father thing, and it makes so much sense more than it did just an episode ago, honestly.
I was really happy to see them jump that far ahead.
Yes.
Like, to see something finally fucking happen.
I agree. Definitely. We were talking about that last week. It's like things are going so slow, and this was a great episode as far as the Marine situation goes, into jumping into action. Daenerys has the Master's ships that she didn't burn. She has full control now. She has Yara and Theon there to help her. They have a deal in place.
In their ships.
Yep. And they're pretty much agreeing. We're gonna go back, take the Iron Islands, and take the Seven Kingdoms. So very exciting stuff. I'll be curious to see what they show next week. You gotta imagine they're leaving. And also, as the dragons helped take Meereen back, the Dothraki showed up.
Yes.
Dario leading the way, and they took out the Harpies that were pretty much left trying to kill people.
The other big part of the episode.
The biggest part of the episode.
Yes. Battle of the Bastards.
Battle of the Bastards. So it starts out in the north. Jon Snow, Davos, Sansa, and Tormund are going to meet with Ramsay. It's kind of like a little meeting before the battle the next day.
Yep.
And Jon kind of tries to convince him to have a duel and just to do that instead of having this massive battle where so many people are going to die.
Or he knew Ramsay wasn't going to do that.
Yeah, he knew Ramsay's not going to do it, but he's trying to shake him, psychologically. Obviously, it doesn't work out, and Ramsay says, I have your brother, things are going to get nasty. That night, Sansa, or Davos, and Tormund and Jon are discussing battle plans. Jon's, kind of explaining what's going to happen. And once they figure that out, Sansa comes in, and she has some words to say.
Yep. She basically says, you're going to fall into whatever trap Ramsay had. You don't know him. He's really smart. He has something planned that you probably aren't expecting.
And it's going to throw off the whole game plan, basically.
So Jon's a little worried, obviously. It's kind of shaken by that.
Davos, in the meantime, he says he can't sleep before big battles, so he walks around. Now, at this point, he has not figured out yet that Stannis' daughter was burned alive. So he's walking around. It's the same camp that Stannis had earlier. And so he comes upon the place where they burned her, and he is understandably...
Yeah, he finds that toy that he gave her, the little stag or deer.
Yeah.
He finds the toy, and like I think there was even a hand. Did you see a hand?
There's some bones.
I couldn't tell because it was kind of dark, but
yeah,
he knew what
it was. It was pretty bad.
And then he kind of like later in the episode kind of looks at Melisandre like I know
he's
the fuck you
not
did.
Fucking happy.
I know you told Stannis to do that otherwise because he never would have done that.
Yeah,
because he loved his daughter even though he shunned her. Kind of. Cut forward to the battle.
Yep. Next morning.
Cut forward to the battle.
Fuck.
Yeah, they're all lined up. One Snow on one side. Bolton on the other side.
And the Bolton horses make them look so tiny.
Ramsay comes in with Rickon, right?
Yeah.
He kind of is like pulling him with a rope, and he pulls out this thing. He pulls out like this knife, and he's holding it up, and everybody's like,
and Jon's sick.
Yeah, he cuts the rope, and he's like, here, go run and see your brother.
Yeah,
and Rickon kind of knows something's up.
Yeah, this is one of Ramsay's games, which he's been playing ever since we've met the character, basically.
And Jon's coming with a horse, and it's a huge field.
Yeah, Jon's fucking...
And then, of course, he waits
flying.
until... He shoots a couple arrows, not even paying attention. And then at the very end, when Jon's close...
Right when Jon's about to grab him.
He shoots him. Jon is upset, obviously, that Rickon's dead. So he's like, oh, fuck. So he like pulls out his sword. He's on his horse.
On the horse, and
he's
they're
charging.
They're launching arrows like by the dozen, basically.
Yeah. And then they all hit the horse. Obviously, the horse gets hit like 10 times.
Yeah, Jon goes down.
He gets flung off, and he looks like shit when he stands up. And he's like, oh.
I'm feeling sick at this point because I'm not sure what the fuck's happening. It's a really bad moment for him here. The forces come charging. The horses are just coming and coming, and he's just standing there. And he pulls his sword out. And his forces are coming behind him as well, and they just collide, and it's so intense.
Yeah, and the cinematography in this episode is really, really good.
Top notch, yeah.
The battle is really long. We can't give away all the little details, obviously, of it, but it was very bloody. It was very brutal.
Brutal,
There
absolutely.
was bodies stacked up on top of each other.
Yeah, it was very visceral, no doubt.
So, 2 main points left for the battle. Jon basically the Bolton forces at one point surround. They totally like do a U shape kind of around.
Yeah.
They have like shields, right? Mm-hmm. And then sticks or like and they're like poking them and poking them.
Yeah.
So there's nowhere for them, the Snow guys, to go at all.
Yeah, they're like suffocating.
Yeah. And so Jon at one point gets like trampled because the guys start trying to run over the hill of bodies.
Oh.
And he gets trampled and he's like suffocating. And this scene that went on for maybe 30 seconds or a minute.
It's great.
I got like claustrophobic and I was like, I felt like I was freaking choking.
Yeah, it just made me feel, and you care so much for Jon. You're like, please get out. You can't die like this. It was like it's such a realistic way to die. That he's getting crushed.
I mean, that
happens. It'd be like to this character, it can't happen, and he manages to get out.
I don't know if he pulls himself up or if someone pulls him. He ends up getting some breath, but he's still like very like.
Yeah, they're getting crushed.
All of a sudden, you hear these horns at the last second.
Yeah, right before
you hear these horns, and then Littlefinger, they kind of pan out. Littlefinger and Sansa are on a hill, and like these fucking horses.
Yeah, the Knights from the Vale.
It's like this long shot, this long pan shot, and you see that all the guys come down, and they
just start.
They just start fucking smashing.
They're smashing these guys. They're literally disappearing. Jon's just amazed. He's like, "Holy shit, Sansa, thank you!" And they get the upper hand. Tormund takes the guy out and stabs him in the face a bunch of times.
Did he bite his nose off?
He bit something off.
Bit his eye off or something.
Shit was coming off his face in Tormund's mouth. Finally, the forces do get decimated, and Jon sees Ramsay back up on the hill by himself. Obviously, him and the Giant and Tormund and Davos, they're taking off after Ramsay.
Ramsay goes into Winterfell.
Yeah, closes the gate.
He barricades it in. And all of a sudden, you hear the Giant. He's like...
Yeah, the Giant's been doing some damage in this battle, but he's been getting hurt. He's a big target. He's kind of making his last stand at this point. He manages to break down the door and let Jon and his forces in. And he's on his knees, he's about to die, and Jon comes in and he's like looking at him, he's like thanking him, he obviously they wouldn't have been able to do it without him. So Jon, he's thanking the Giant, and then Ramsay of course shoots him in the eye, and he falls dead basically. And Jon now, sets his sights on Ramsay. Yeah, there's this really badass part where, Ramsay still has the bow and arrow, and he's shooting him at Jon, but he picks up his shield, and he's stopping him, and then he's running forward and stopping him. Finally, just when you think the shield's about to give, he gets to him and fucking smashes his face. He's pummeling his face.
They end up... He doesn't kill him. He sees Sansa at the last second. And Ramsay's basically dead at this point. And he sees Sansa and he's like, maybe I shouldn't kill him. So he gets up, walks away. A couple minutes later, Sansa's like, what'd you do with him? You know, where'd you put Ramsay? He's in the dog, like the back, like kennel area that's all like dark, like a dungeon. Sansa comes in, says some words, and Ramsay's like, "Are you gonna let me go, or what's gonna happen?" And then he realizes, "Oh, you're gonna kill me." The dogs come out, and he's like, he's like, "Oh, wait a minute, they're my dogs. They're not gonna eat me." And she was like, "You said you haven't fed them in 7 days." Yeah, he was gonna use them in the battle.
Yeah, earlier in the episode, he says, "Yeah, I haven't fed them in 7 days. They're ready to eat you guys." So Ramsay is obviously completely despicable.
He's covered in blood.
But at this moment, I'm thinking, oh, I feel kind of bad for him.
Oh, hell no.
He gets fucking ripped to shreds.
They show it, like, obviously it's CGI and like stuff like that, but like they show like the dog Bittery bites his face, and like it's kind of like the mountain we did last week. He like bites his whole fucking face.
He kind of like bites, like the dog's mouth goes into Ramsay's mouth and just kind of like rips off like his lower jaw. So obviously Ramsay's dead, his forces are destroyed, and you know the Starks basically on Winterfell again. They put up the banners, and
you notice the Ramsay's banners is what he did to Theon, basically the big X.
Oh yeah, the flayed man. Yeah, that's their sigil.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, that's
really good episode. I don't have a knock on this episode. I'm gonna give this a 5 out of 5.
I'm gonna give this a 5 out of 5 as well.
This is the tip of Game of Thrones.
This is what Game of Thrones is. You know, when people talk about how it's one of the best series of all time, this is what the people are talking about. Massive battle, beautiful cinematography. You know, you get payoffs with these characters. You know, all this stuff that's been building up for seasons now. Finally, it pays off. It was great. Definitely one of the best episodes of the season.
The show is really good too because there's a lot of callbacks. Like we've seen Ramsay kill people with the dogs. Yeah, and he died because of that.
Yeah, exactly.
The characters in this show, for the most part, get what they fucking deserve.
Yep.
There's always a reason for something in this show, and Ramsay deserved to fucking die. And Sansa basically did it, but Jon helped her, and it was just like
there's a real beautiful
so
aspect to it. I definitely super excited for the season finale. Obviously, I'm a little nervous. There's a lot of loose ends to tie up. Some things I'm not so interested in. But same director as this episode, and he has a great track record so far.
2 5 out of 5s.
Yeah.
One more episode. There's gonna be a lot of stuff. Come back next week. We'll have a review on that, and then a big season discussion.